Hello and welcome to another review video, and this time it is the Messerschmitt Me410 from Airfix in 1/72 scale. Now this little puppy came out on a Friday last week and I just had to jump on board. I do have a bit of history with this plane in the form of the Matchbox kit from the past when I was a kid, and I just thought it would be nice to have it again in my collection, but in a more modern release that has probably a bit more detail in the cockpit department, and the outside is also much nicer than what the Matchbox kit offered. Anyway, I'm not going to say any negative things about that because that's a really old kit, and for what it was back in the day, I think it was quite good. But anyway, let's have a look what Airfix managed to pull off with this one. Let's have a look inside. Sorry, it is quite... there we go. And what we have in here is a big bag of plastic goodness. The Camo Schemes and the instruction, and that's about it. I presume that the decals will be in here, and they are. But first, let's get through all the paperwork, and by paperwork I mean the instruction booklet and just a quick talk about the history of the plane, specifications, blah blah blah, yada yada yada, assembly instructions, the regular Airfix stuff that you will get in every instruction sheet of theirs. Now here we go to the cockpit with the observation window in between the pilot's legs. Sorry. And then some coloring. I think 33 is black, and then you put the decals on top. Yeah, and you glue it on top. If you use the B variant, which is the big gun, you're going to have to drill these holes here. Then you put in the seat and backrest, headrest, then front instrument panel, the big joystick, should I say control stick in this case, and then you put in more panels, this frame that is I think around the seat of the gunner. Then you have this antenna, and then we move on to putting all things together with the front cockpit part. Then we flip it around, some color callouts here as well. These are I think the standard cannons that the plane has. I think it has like 4 of these small cannons, and then you will get either the 2 larger cannon variant or the very big cannon variant, which is the B, and you have to put this in here where you drilled out the hole like so. And now this part is where you would need to drill out holes if you want to put in extra fuel tanks. Yeah, because you have that option as well. Now we go on the next one, which is the bottom part of the wing section and the wing root. So you put in this, I think this is going to serve as some kind of stabilizer, and a tiny part of the landing gear internals. And then you have this kind of cockpit tub thingy for the gunner. If you look at here, you have quite a nice detail with instruments and everything for the gunner, which is quite nice, although the question is how much you are going to actually see of that. And then you have this thing which I really like about Airfix. Well done guys. It is that you can make the plane into landing gear up position, which a lot of times other manufacturers don't really care about and don't really give the option. Airfix has been always the forerunner in this, and yeah, this is one of the most positive things about Airfix, for me at least. But you know, your mileage may differ. Now, if you're going with the landing gears down, you are going to put these in there instead. Then we go into the fuselage inside, painting, some extra bits and pieces. There is some extra instrumentality here with some decals. And then you have the rear landing gear. Then we have another set of tiny extra detail, cockpit detail with decals. So I can safely say that it looks like that the cockpit will be decaled up quite nicely. And then the other side of the fuselage, now you are going to glue in the whole thing, this top frame and the pilot's cockpit into the fuselage as shown here. You put together the two fuselage halves and you make sure that you don't glue this thing in here. Then you move on to put the fuselage on top of the bottom wing section, and then you glue the top wing section on there. Moving on, then okay, so you have this front part of the wing, which I will have to look it up what these are. I know that a lot of planes have it. So just to stop myself right there a bit, these are called the leading edge slats, and they are meant to generate more lift when the plane is flying on lower speed. Now back to our regular program. You have two variations, closed or open, which is again a nice extra from Airfix. Then you have the horizontal stabilizers, which come with a bottom and top section. It looks like that the bottom part has the elevator right on it, so it's not a separate thing, and you can choose from either being in this position or in this position for both sides, of course. Again, another great choice. And then it shows how you glue it together. There is the rudder, it just goes in there, nice and simple. Now you have the engine cowling with the radiator part or intake. No, I think this is the radiator on the engines themselves. And then you go down, you put in the two cowlings in there, and then you move down to play with the guns. So here is the version A with the two smaller cannons, and the version B with the big ass cannon right here. Then we have the radiators. Okay, so you can have it open or closed position, so closed or open. Again, that is quite cool to have so many variations on this plane. And then you have the inside of the radiators pieced together like that, slots in place, put the sides on, and then you position that flap closed, and then you put it on. That's it. I presume the next set is going to be the open version, the same as the closed, but now you use a different bottom part of the radiator cover, and now you put it together the same way, but now you have this piece here, says 10 degrees open here as well, you can see, and now you have an open radiator. Now you have the ailerons, those go in there, nice and easy. And then you have the exhaust and the exhaust covers. Now these, one might want to check whether they aren't too thick for what they are, because these are usually just really just a very thin sheet of metal that just goes over the exhaust port. So making them out of plastic, they are probably thicker than they were in real life. Anyway, moving on. Now you put in the gun ports, nice and easy, and landing gears going in. Yeah, this doesn't really mean anything to me, but it might mean a lot to you. And then you can make the rear landing gear in open or closed position, and here you have the big question marks whether you want to have these extra fuel tanks on the wings or not. And if you want them, then go back on the very first page. You will see that you have to drill the holes. And now we go on to the props here as well. Simple assembly, and then don't glue this because then it won't turn. And after everything has settled, put it in. Then you have these two frames or something that go in the inside of the cockpit, and then you have this little fellow here. I presume this is the mechanism for the guns to control. Yeah, probably that's going to be like the trigger as well. And now here are the two alternative front canopies for the 2 cannon and the 1 big ass cannon version. And now we have a look-see at the canopy top, which is in 3 parts. Comes in 3 parts. I can remember as well that the Matchbox one came with the canopy just being one big part. And then here we have some extra bits and pieces. I don't know what these are. I think this is some kind of radio as well, but I'm not 100% sure. Like a short range or something like that. And then this is quite cool. This is like a step that comes out of the bottom of the plane that helps the crew to get up on the wing and get into the plane. And yeah, I haven't seen this on too many models yet. So well done Airfix again to give this kind of option, which is quite rare, but I presume it is going to be more and more common in the future. And then you put the canopy on top. Now the thing is, I don't know if this actually supports any open canopy or not. I would have to look into it because I have no idea how this canopy opens. So, so that's something that you want to look at because you might need to cut a bit, and that is always a bit frightening when it comes to clear parts. Anyway, you have the pitot tube as well. It's all done in just easy 77 steps, although quite few of the steps are, choices. And finally, you have a nice big white sheet. Probably you can take notes here, so that's quite good as well. You can take your notes if you need anyone. Out of focus. Look, nice. Okay, let's move on. The camouflage instructions. Well, first let's have a look at let's get out of it. Let's have a look at the one from Norway, 1945. It looks quite interesting in a way that it's the common Luftwaffe scheme, and then you have a tiny mottling on the vertical stabilizer and rudder. You have this dark greenish thing over here, It is okay, but I'm not going to build this. So let's have a look at the big Canon one. Now this is a bit more interesting, that you have a lot of mottling all the way on the fuselage. Then yeah, the same upper surface camo that with the previous one, and you have this white stripe in the fuselage end as well. Oh gosh, look at all these numbers, all these decals, all this stencil data that you will have to put on. That's a lot. Loads. A lot. Okay. Speaking of decals, let's have a look at the decals then. I will go in as close as possible. Let's have a look. They look nice. And let's see if it has any shine to it. Yeah, it is a bit like a satinish shine, but it's not that bad. I've seen more shiny decals in my day. And I can also say that the carrier film is used sparingly. You can see, for example, with the Black Sea, the inside doesn't have any carrier film. The same with the V over there, the bottom of the A, and like, yeah, so they made a really good job with the carrier film. Now I don't see any indication that if it was made by Cartograph or someone else. And then you have this white stripe, which would go with the big Canon version, but of course I would rather paint that on. Yeah, overall it looks quite good. The usual quality you would expect from an Airfix kit. And finally we get to open this big plastic bag full of plastic goodness. Just let me grab my trusty little knife here, and oh yeah, this is it. I always love to open the bags up. So good. Let's get everything out. Okay, you have the clear parts in a separate bag for security reasons. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sprues in different sizes. Okay, so let's start with the wings. Looking good. Nice detail on the top surface, although there aren't too many rivets on here. Again, one needs to check the actual plane or like reference images to make sure that it had rivets or not, but there are none on the top. Let's go to the bottom. Now here you have quite a lot, and it looks well made. Here as well, all the way. Looking good. Visually, I don't see any sink marks whatsoever. Yeah. Then you have the radiators. Both the open and closed. It does have some rivet detail on there. And I don't see any nasty flashes or anything. Okay, let's go on to the next sprue, which holds most of the cockpit parts, I presume, but let's have a lot of small detail here. Okay, yeah, looking good. All the landing gear parts. Now this is going to be the backers for the pilot, the seat. Some internal parts there as well. Instrument panel parts. The radio mast. Pitot tube. Some more radio equipment kind of thing. Yep. All looks good. Oh, and I quite like that Airfix started to use this kind of highlighting of the sprues, because it's much more readable like this. And then you have, well, the propellers are going to be so small. It's so weird to see 1/72 scale model parts now that I've been building the Me410 when I'm working on the Stuka in 1/35 scale. So seeing such small parts for the props and everything is just weird. Just weird. Yeah, but I do want to get back to 1/72 scale, and I will go back because I do want to build this plane as well. Okay, more radiator and like engine intake and so on. Yeah, everything looks nice. Well, oh, the exhausts aren't slide molded, so you don't have any kind of holes or anything, so you have to do that if you want, but these are quite small, and it does have a cover on top, so I don't know if it would be worth it, but anyway, if you want, you can. Next one. Okay, this is the gun part. So you have the one for the big gun and then the two small ones, and you have the two small cannons, and then you have the big cannon. Okay, so you do have some nice detail on the muzzle end there, but a downside is that this is not slide molded, so you have to drill the hole yourself. To be fair, I did buy a resin printer, so I am actually thinking of making my own at this point, but I still need to have time for that thing. But yeah, it looks good overall because it's one piece, so no seam lines whatsoever, but there's no hole either, so you have to do it yourself. Next one is going to be, oops, sorry, yeah, here we go. So that's the inside, the cockpit inside. The horizontal stabilizer and elevators. It's quite interesting that they are together. So they are molded together. So you can't really change how they are. You just go with one or the other version. Okay, this is going to be the rudder. Oh no, sorry, this is the top of the horizontal stabilizers. This is not the rudder. This is going to be the rudder, right? Sorry, yeah, here we go. That looks really ruddish, so it might be the rudder. And then you have the two small props. Wow, these are really small. Sorry, I'm just still baffled about the size. It feels so tiny. Okay, these are the cowlings. Yeah, it has a good amount of detail, decent amount of detail. Okay, next part, again, the other side of the fuselage. Well, sorry, I haven't actually looked at the fuselage, so let me do that now. Okay, looking good. Tiny amount of rivet detail, but the rest is only panel lines on the sides. Now, what I would notice though as well, that the panel lines aren't that big and deep as they used to be for these Airfix kits, so these are quite, well, I shouldn't say subtle, but they look quite good in terms of size and deepness, should I say. Hello, it's future me again. So what this guy is trying to say is that these panel lines aren't that wide and deep as they used to be with the older kits from Airfix. Now back to our regular program. And now here you have all these control surfaces and whatnot for the gunner, and that looks really good. It's like a lot of tiny detail on there. Now I do wonder how much you're going to actually see of that when you have that frame on top of it. So I do wonder how much that's going to be visible, but nonetheless you have good detail on there. And that's the tub. Let's have a look at the rest of it. Yeah, okay, that is the gear bay, landing gear bay. Oh look, you have some some cable work here as well, and then you have the cockpit for the pilot. Good amount of detail, like it. Then you have the wheels, looking good. Then you have these extra fuel tanks, and the gun themselves, the gun ports. Yeah, they look much better than the Matchbox ones, I can remember that. And then you have the bottom gun parts, and yeah, I do see some flashes on the end, see? So yeah, there is that. And of course not slide molded, so you need some drilling here, or you can replace it with a brass tube. So overall I am quite pleased. It looks really good. And finally, let's have a look at the clear parts. And opening them up, they look good. Okay, there is a bit of a scratch on there. Now the question is that part which will be painted over anyway or not, but I will have to check the instructions. Oh, and you have two. Probably this is one and this 10. Is there any difference? Not that I can tell. I would have to consult the instructions to know what's the difference between these two. But yeah, you have two of those, and then you have the observation window, and then other parts of the canopy. Okay, and the side walls. and they look really good. Even that weird angled part for the gunner to be able to look back. Yeah, looking great. Well, I am pleased what Airfix has done with this plane. I can't wait to start working on it. Just hold your horses right there, boy. We are not going to work on it anytime soon because the roadmap in my mind has other things which is telling me to finish first. Anyhow, well done Airfix, well done. You did quite a good surprise here and I am very pleased what I saw. The price is right as well, so it's between 21-23 British pounds. I don't know how much that is going to be in euros or in dollars and in other parts of the world. And of course, until we meet again in my final episode of the Me410 build, please like, subscribe, leave a comment, and as I always say, see you on the next one.